Well, our regularly scheduled program has been disrupted. So you're stuck with me. And I was thinking, with the keys of Enoch and with it being so deep, I thought maybe we'd try something. Hopefully, it's a little bit lighter than this deep stuff, because let me tell you, the next one, yeah, we talk about the implicate universe and everything, but the one after that, you're in trouble. That may be a 2 or 3-parter there, just that little bit. So I'm going to draw from the Gospel of Thomas. So maybe it's a little light. I don't know. Maybe not. It's still a little deep to me anyway. But there's this very simple verse. In fact, it's so simple, it's all by itself. And I don't know what to make of it. Maybe you can give me some ideas. Because Christ simply says, become passersby. That got Sharon's attention. I saw her head come up. Become passers-by. So what might be the potential meaning behind this? What do passers-by do? What do you do when you are a passerby?
I'm just observing. I'm not engaging.
Okay, just observing, not engaging. How about you, Ray?
I hate to sound selfish, but I think you're almost self-absorbed. You don't even realize what's going on around you.
I wouldn't say that's selfish, but typically we are self-absorbed. We don't see what's going on around us. How about you, Sandy?
Well, I actually was thinking both of those things, that when we're passing by, we're usually going somewhere and we're focused on where we're going, so we certainly don't always see what's around us, and yet what we do see makes an impression. And I could just say, like, just this week, being in the airports and observing as you're walking and see people living life was nice. It was nice just to see people doing things and going places and engaging in life. So that's my take on it.
That's good. I like that. I wonder if I can work that in somewhere. I don't know. How about you, Sharon?
I was absolutely in agreement with, you're going somewhere, so you're pretty much, in my case, probably have some blinders on. I'm not really paying attention to what's around me, which you should. The airports were definitely different this year than they were last year, where people were all masked and there were a lot less people. We saw a lot more people. Nobody had masks on, almost nobody. And when we were doing our sightseeing, there were a lot more people out and about, walking, just observing, taking in the fall weather and all of that, which we've all been kind of sheltered for such a long time. It's kind of nice to see that. So, this is a difference between walking and observing and just sitting and observing. So like if you're a people watcher, if you're like sitting on a bench and you're just watching people go by, that's a very different scenario than just going from A to B. So I think you're much more mentally engaged with those people around you that walk by you, and than you would be if you were actually moving forward yourself. So
There is a difference between people watching and
Mhm,
being a passerby.
mhm.
And yeah, Ray was right there. You're self-absorbed.
Mhm.
You're
Mhm.
self-absorbed. It's not that you're self-absorbed, but you're focused
Mhm.
on something.
Right.
And you don't see anybody else to distract you. There's no distractions with it. I should put that in here because I left all that out. I left all that out. But yeah, when we're a passerby, we're focused. We don't see what's going on around us because we're focused. We're not distracted. And what happens when we become distracted?
Lose our focus.
I usually bite my lip. And it's horrible. I'm watching television as I'm relaxing for dinner and everything. And then this thought comes into my mind, distracting me from what I'm doing. And oh, God, it just bite right into my lip every time.
Yeah.
And when I'm walking, you know how the joke is, blondes can't chew and walk at the same time. I can't do that either. Not anymore. So distractions
Mhm.
kind of mess us up a little bit. They draw us to one side or the other. So we could easily say that when he's telling us to become passersby, he's telling us to become focused, to not be distracted, because we've got all these distractions in the world. If you're familiar with the Seven of Cups in the Tarot, they call it the Dreamer's card. I don't know why they call it the Dreamer's card, because I see nothing about it that is inspirational or anything that inspires or that you would aspire to.
That's the one that has all these little different figures coming out.
Yeah,
One of them's like a dragon or a lizard, if I remember right.
could be. I don't have the deck with me. It just popped into my head, the whole idea of it. The Seven of Cups there, because it's got all this stuff here. It's got these riches on one side and something else on another side. And then right in the middle, is this person with a hood over them or a cloth over them. They're draped. They can't see. And the idea of the card is that you're being distracted because you can't see. If you're full of yourself, self-absorbed, as Ray put, you can't see anything. If you're chasing after diamonds or gems or whatever, you can't see anything. If you're chasing after wisdom, you can't see anything. You're distracted. And what is it that we're distracted from? In thoughts.
I would say our focus on ourself, our own path, our own development, spirit with intelligence.
Okay, our own development, right?
Well, our own development is the distraction, because if we're so self-absorbed, then we're not participating in the world around us. We're not sharing and embracing others around us, because it's all about me.
Hmm.
Very good. Glad you drove that bus this morning.
I'm still avoiding the lessons.
Very, very good. I like that. Because if we're self-absorbed, we're not doing what we're here to be doing. And what is it that we're here to be doing?
Learning,
And
being kind,
and
nurturing,
and
loving.
and let's let someone else get a word in edgewise. How about
Those are all
you?
Philip terms.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. How about you, Sandy?
Um, get a thought now, it went out of my head. Of course, we're here on our path, on our journey. So that is probably the most singular reason, but balanced, of course, with where we're going and with the world around us, because we can't just focus on one and not the other. Then we aren't then we aren't trying to accomplish what we need to accomplish. So I think,
Okay.
but I mean, the thought that came to me when you said asked the question was what we were here for. I think love is the most important thing. And I mean the all embracing, the spiritual, the love that replaces fear, that replaces everything else. That love, probably not around as much as we'd like it to be, but that's what I think one of the biggest goals is, like Beth said, loving.
One of the things I've noticed about religions, all of them, is they talk a lot about love. They talk a lot about peace. They talk a lot about us versus them. But they never talk about the most important thing in life. The one thing that is most important for all of us, and Ray touched on it. The most important thing, the whole purpose of being here, at least in my opinion, and since I'm the one up here, my opinion's the one that counts. But the most important thing in life of being here is, like Ray said, participation. If you're not participating in life, who are you nurturing? Yeah, we're important. It's important to nurture the self. But, you got this whole concept of this point within the circle. Is there anything in the circle that matters? Another way of looking at this is we have God in the middle. Then we have this big circle around him, the big circle around God. So what in that circle is the most important thing for God?
What's around it?
And what is around God?
Space,
Space. Okay.
album, cosmic egg.
Cosmic egg. Yeah, that's the sphere. That's the sphere. And right in the middle is the yolk. That's God. God is the yolk, the golden yolk. What is the most important thing in that sphere?
Egg white.
The egg white. Of
Apple.
course, less cholesterol.
Yeah.
But aren't we all in that circle too?
Yes. We're all in that circle too. So what's the most important thing in that circle?
Us.
Us.
Like bulb.
And what makes us so important?
We're part of the whole. We're part of it.
And because we're part of the whole, what should we be doing?
Be more like the whole.
And what is the whole doing?
Loving.
Nice.
Right?
I see Ray over here with his perplexed eyes and his brow creased up, and he's even now changed his position. So please.
Defensive ones.
I know you've got some thoughts there. Share them.
Well, I have a problem with your,
Good.
I have a problem with your example with the yoke is God, and then there's this ring, and everybody's within this ring. Because I would object to, the implication is the yoke and the albumen are separate. And I don't believe they're separate. I believe there is no yoke or albumen. I don't even believe there's a ring. Because the ring implies that there is existence within the ring. And there's something outside of the ring. I believe there is no ring. I believe there's no albumen. If we are all, I mean, if our mission, if our objective in existence is to return to oneness, I'm not espoused to a perception that there is a barrier between me and the oneness. So I don't like your example. I don't like the concept of separation.
Good. Because that's the way it's supposed to be. There is no yolk. There is no egg white. And it's recorded in the Kabbalah and in the Bible. There is the law, and God is the law, and nothing can exist outside the law. And the law only applies to who? Only applies to the egg white and the yolk. That's it. Because what does Paul say about the righteous? They become the law. And why do they become the law? Because they move past it. There's no barriers. There's only one flaw to what Ray said. Since he's picking at my theories, I'm going to pick at his.
All good.
And that is that if we are all part of the whole, then we are the whole. It fits, am I correct? So that's the most important thing in life. That's the most important thing for being here, is to participate, because we are the whole. And in order to be part of the whole, you have to participate. And when we become passers-by, we are strolling along, and it's not that we are self-absorbed. It could be that we are talking to everybody we meet. We are participating in life. That's one way of looking at it. Of course, then there's the other way. We're self-absorbed. We got our blinders on. We're not distracted by anything. We're on our path. And our path is the most important thing for us. So we have to stay on that path, because if we move off of that path, we're going to fall off into a dark alley or something and be mugged by conspiracies. But getting mugged by conspiracies is part of the plan. Figure that one out.
Well, we've been given free will, so we have many paths we could choose to take.
Well, there's another thing that to me is flawed. We haven't been given free will. Free will has always been there. We've been given reason. And it's reason that defines the whole aspect of free will, because it's through reasoning that we make a choice. Or at least those of us who are willing to admit to making a choice. The rest of us just say, well, he made me do this, and she didn't do this, and they expect this of me. What is there reason in that? No. In many of the spiritual books, many of the older teachings, reason is a gift. And in the older teachings, you know who the humans are? Hmm? Would you like to venture a guess, Andy? No.
I
Who
don't
the
know.
humans are.
Who are the humans? According to the old teachings,
According to old teachers.
the humans, they say man, but I say humans. It's more inclusive. The humans are those who exercise what?
Oh, reason.
Reason. Because everybody else is too busy making an excuse. Those people who choose, and if we go with free will, then they choose not to accept responsibility, not to be responsible, but choice implies one thing, that you know what either one is. And if you don't know what either one is, then it's not a choice, it's a guess. Well, I guess I'll do this. Believe me, when I say, I guess I'll do this, all I do is trip up. I stumble. It's like walking with my eyes closed. But again, that's participation as well. And then there's the most important thing about becoming a passerby. And does anyone want to hazard a guess with that? I should get rid of the script because the script is just totally worthless now. Thanks to Ray and his school bus.
Are you trying to catch up?
But that's okay. Well, actually, he got it right because he was ahead of me. He was ahead of me.
Good job, Ray.
So
Yeah.
your dream was spot on. You were ahead of me. But the thing about passersby is to become. To become is like making a choice. You're not just a passerby. You become a passerby. You don't just participate with everybody, because participation, meaningful participation, not only moves us along our path, which we're all caught up in our whole idea of our path. Not only does participation move us along our path, but it moves them along theirs. That's what participation is all about. So when we become passersby, we are becoming, you could say we become a catalyst for change.
I just heard we bring others into our wake.
Very good. We bring others into our wake. It's not that they're behind us, but that's further on. I can go back to the script now.
You're welcome.
I can go back to the script now, because in the next verse, they don't number these or anything, but the disciples of Jesus say to him, "Who are you that you should say these things?" And of course, I like this. The reply was, "You do not realize who I am from what I say to you, but you have become like the Jews, for they either love the tree or hate its fruit, or love the fruit and hate the tree."
Who was speaking this?
That was Christ.
Okay,
That was Christ.
so he's digging at his own tribe.
Well, Jesus was Jewish.
Right.
He's not going to talk about Gentiles. He's going to talk about the Jewish people because he's Jewish. That was his teachings. He taught Judaism. He didn't teach Christianity. Christianity was nothing. It wasn't a glimmer in his eye, in anybody's eye. Christianity came about with people who followed him and took his teachings, made them their own, and started teaching their interpretation of his teachings. That's how any religion comes about.
Mhm.
That's what Christianity is about. But people seem to forget that Jesus was Jewish. So he's going to talk about the Jewish people, because who else is he going to talk about? So that's what he's saying, is the idea of the tree and the fruit. So let's go back to our teaching so we can try and figure this out. Tree and fruit. All right. So what is the tree?
The adult fruit. The bearer of fruit.
Bearer of fruit. Okay. What else is the tree?
It's like-
What does it? Okay. Life. Sandy? Oh, I'm sorry. I'll wait till you're
No.
through taking your notes.
I was thinking, my thought was it was the source is what came to mind.
That works. That works. Right?
I kind of go with Sandy's idea.
Okay.
So,
Okay. The source. So traditionally, they teach that the tree is strength because it's a phallic symbol. All phallic symbols represent strength. And they represent strength because they are upright. When we come back to this whole idea of the point with the circle, we're looking at it from the top, because from the top, you've got the point and then the circle around it. You've got the column and the circle around it. What they actually represent, if you look at it horizontally from the ground, you've got the horizon, and then you've got the column there. But with a tree, the tree is not only here, but it's also here. So we've got the horizon, which is Mother Earth. And then you've got the column, which is God, male, female. That's what that represents. Life, the divine, however you want to put it. So we've got the tree that represents strength, or the source. And then we've got, come back to this idea of point with a circle again. This is a wonderful symbol there because it's so malleable. So the fruit hangs from the branches, and what do we do with the fruit?
Pluck it.
Pluck it. Yes. Yes. I'm a tree and I've got fruit hanging from my branches, and you're all taking what fruit works for you. That's what that is. So what he's saying is either people like the tree or people like the teacher, but they don't really care for a lot of what he's doing, but they like him for whatever reason, like what he says, like, but it doesn't make sense to them. Or they like the fruit. They love what this guy is doing, but they don't care for the guy himself, but they love what this guy is doing. We see this in politics. Oh yeah, I love what he's doing here, man. This is free food, but I hate the guy. This is just a stunt. That's what he's referring to. And that's what most people do. They cherry pick everything. And they, to the point that they cherry pick life. What are your thoughts about that? Cherry picking life. How do we do that?
suppose you can do that to some extent in your life, but there are gonna be times where you cannot cherry pick anything. You know, life's gonna slap you down and you're not picking that. I mean, you may have to pick yourself up, but you're not, you know, I don't
Mhm.
see, you know,
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
okay, all right.
We'll come back to that. How about you, Beth?
That's an indoctrinate, what?
Indoctrination.
Good grief.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not the only one that has those problems.
Where people are only choosing to believe certain things and totally ignore, what's further down on the page or what was in the page past.
How about you, Sandy? What are your thoughts about cherry picking life?
Well, I guess I'm a little bit like Sharon said. I think there are situations where we have to choose what we think is best for where we're going. So if that's considered cherry picking, it might not be a bad thing. However, I do understand also the big picture about that is if you only pick certain things, you're going to miss other things. You're going to miss out on other things. And you probably limit your growth, your development spiritually, maybe because you choose to not see the full picture, maybe. I don't know. It's a very interesting because I think we all do that. I think that is like, I could see myself in that scenario. Definitely. We choose what we were comfortable with,
Mhm.
you know? So I don't know the answer though. I
Sometimes
see
there
the
is one.
predicament, but I don't know the answer.
How about you, Ray?
Well, I think, I don't know if it's because of our life experiences, or our upbringing, or our past, I'm not sure what it is, but we seem to come into the present with prejudices, good and bad, but prejudice still means you are biased. And if you're talking about religion, and you're talking, you see stuff in politics, who believe in this, and they believe in this, and they believe in this, oh, but they're all for capital punishment, oh, they're all for, they cherry pick what is comfortable for them within their faiths. And the things they're not comfortable with, they completely ignore. And it's very disconcerting when you look at people who have certain opinions about world events, and they're all prejudiced by not by their faith, because if you look at all these faiths are the basis of these faiths are all noble and but they ignore them when they're not comfortable to their prejudices. So when I look at good Christians or good Jews or good Muslims, how can a good Muslim who practices the Quran believe it's okay to bomb churches? How can a Catholic or a Christian who believes in thou shalt not kill, it's okay to slaughter people? They're very selective in what they believe. And if they honestly practice what all faiths taught, we wouldn't have war and famine.
Is exactly what Jesus was talking about. They either like the tree and hate the fruit, or they hate the fruit and like the tree. It's a wonderful example right there. I couldn't have put it better myself. And with
So
that, yes.
I probably shouldn't ask this, but would one conclude that one should try to embrace the fruit and the tree?
Yeah, because when you embrace the fruit and the tree, you are part of the whole. And as part of the whole, you have war, you have famine, you have foolishness, you have ignorance. It's all part of the whole.
Okay.
It's not that you are back to cherry picking. Because if you notice in what I teach, I draw from not only the Gnostic Gospel of Thomas, the Gnostic Gospel of Philip, the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, there's a huge selection. I draw from all of them because this one may put the message in a fashion that's more understandable for me. For instance, and I'll give you an example here. In the Bhagavad Gita, he writes that you have a right to your actions, but never to your actions' fruit. So I'm responsible for what I'm teaching you. I'm responsible for providing appropriate content, for guiding you in a direction that's beneficial for all, with as little prejudice as possible. But what you do with what I've provided for you is not up to me. If you walk out that door saying, man, he's really full of it, that for me to respond to that is incorrect. It's inappropriate. The same as if you walk out that door and say, man, he's really got it together. He knows what he's talking about. I can't take credit for that either, because I have no right to that fruit. That is yours. That's your interpretation of it. I only have a right to that which I have control over. And I have no control over what you do with stuff. And what is it that a lot of people strive to do? What is it that some of these traditional religions, these mainstream religions, try to do? They try to control the fruit. So, any thoughts, questions, comments? I'll start with Ray, since I've always ended with him. I'll start with him so he doesn't have time to put things together.
I would like to relate an event that happened to us, because you're talking about passersby. And it was moving in a way, but it was so calming. We were in Woodstock, Vermont, beautiful sunny day. We were sitting on a bench watching the passersby. And this lady comes up to us and says, have you seen an old man with white hair and a yellow raincoat? He's missing.
Orange,
Oh,
yeah, bright orange jacket, she
Bright
says.
orange jacket.
Is that John?
It was not yellow, it was bright
Ooh.
orange.
Careful with that allergy.
Yeah, he's missing, he has Alzheimer's, we don't know where he's a wanderer, he's not now. And we're just sitting there relaxed. He says, no, we haven't seen it. And so she walks up the street, and about a minute later, I see this old man with white hair and an orange raincoat coming up the street. And I said to Sharon, that's him. Go get her. And Sharon jumps up and walks down the street. She runs down the street.
Running
looking
down
for this
the
lady.
street.
Well, what's interesting is the man shuffles across the street, and we're sitting on this bench, and Sharon's purse was here, and I moved her purse over here. He walks up and he sits right down, and he says to me something like, how you been? I haven't seen you in a long time. And if it were me a couple of years ago, I would have said, I don't know who you are, I don't know who you're talking about. But he sat down and he was very soft, he was a very gentle person. And I said, well, I haven't seen you in a long time, neither, what have you been doing? And we just started talking. And then he talked about, we were talking about South Plain going by and all that. And so we were just engaging in this soft conversation like old friends, although I have no idea who he was. And then Sharon comes back with the lady. And but it was the point, it was a very soft conversation. There was no, I'm uncomfortable because because you're a stranger. The lady was, everything was very gentle. And it turns out they, from Nova Scotia, and we started talking about taking our 50th anniversary of Nova Scotia. So it was a lovely conversation. But the point I'm making is that they were passersby and we were just observing. But the engagement, the only word I can use is soft. It was there was no tension, it was gentle. The guy was a gentle person. And had it been, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago, the reaction would have been completely different. But it's almost like what you're talking about, where we engaged, but it was very soft in, it was very soft out, and it was the way it should be.
Sounds like it was very nurturing.
It was.
It was. It was like this moment in time. I mean, there are hundreds of people walking on the streets. And we had just gotten past kind of the really busy sections and we were by a covered bridge. So we decided to sit down. So the whole scenario, probably took 15 whole minutes out of our life. And yet I thought I was here, we were here at the right time, we were here, she walked by and she didn't even tell us any of that. All she said is he's a wanderer. She said nothing else about him. So we didn't know, I kind of suspected that's kind of what it was. And when I found her a block and a half later and we walked back, she explained to me about his condition and he's her brother-in-law and he has Alzheimer's and etc. So when we finally met up, I thought to myself, oh, Raymond probably asked him to sit down, not had a clue that he just came and sat down, which to me, I mean, maybe I'm reading more, I know he thinks I'm reading more into it than maybe I am, but my thought was on a spiritual level, I realize he has mental disability and his brain causes him to not remember and he had his boots on backwards. She told me that and Raymond said, yeah, I noticed he has boots on backwards. He wouldn't change them. He has his own condition, but what part of his brain decided that I'm going to sit next to him and is there a spiritual, is there a visual idea that, oh, he's safe. I'm going to sit, all of these ideas came to my head, like what would make him pick you out of anybody that he came along and he sat down next to you. So to me, it kind of spoke of more questions maybe than answers, but at the end of it all, I was extremely grateful that we were the ones that they picked, that she picked us and then he picked you. And it was a moment in time that was helpful for all of them. And she got her brother-in-law back and was, and
There was a softness and a
Yes.
gentleness to it. There was a
absolutely.
grace to it.
Absolutely. It was such a memorable, and it's funny because I know this kind of sounds silly, but I thought to myself, well, maybe this is why we were supposed to be here today in Woodstock, Vermont, at this bench, at this time in our day, and it all worked out for the best. So it was a very wonderful, good feeling.
Yeah, I don't read a lot into it other than the fact that, I mean, when he came over and sat down, he doesn't even hesitate. He just walked over and sat down. It's like we were old friends. Well, I don't know if we were old friends or not, but it was just something I don't forget.
Mhm. Mhm.
But they were passersby and we engaged the passersby.
When you started talking originally in this conversation about passersby, That was the first thing I thought of was what happened to us. And I wasn't sure we were gonna share it or not, but I'm kind of glad we did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, there's a lot of scientific explanations you could draw from, but the spiritual explanation, familiarity.
okay,
We're attracted to what's familiar.
okay. Okay.
So, any thoughts, Sandy?
Well, I love that story. I just love it. And um, I feel like there was a connection, you know, like you said, he felt familiarity. He felt safety, he felt comfort coming to sit next to Raymond. And so I love that story. And I guess my takeaway on all of this is that um, trying to embrace this all together is probably the biggest takeaway for me for all this, is embracing the fruit and the tree. And I really enjoyed this. This was really good.
As I think about it, maybe it was an example of the benefits of attempting to be open.
Yes.
Mhm.
There you go. When we began the Keys of Enoch, the very first thing we talked about was being open mind, open life, open possibilities, open universe. And the only way to be open is to allow things to unfold, to accept the way things unfold. And that's, if you get out of all the political rhetoric, that's what religion teaches, is to be accepting, to allow, to be open. Beth, any thoughts?
Oh, plenty.
Could you narrow the field?
Let's see. I'm just, what's reverberating in my brain is a parable. That's a perfect example of somewhere down the road, that becomes a parable, a teaching parable.
Yes, yes.
And Sharon?
Yeah, I agree with you on that, yeah. Yeah, this was good today. I enjoyed it a lot. I think we had a lot of good discussion today.
Good,
All good.
good. Now that I have filled your mental stomachs, I want to thank you for sharing your thoughts and for allowing me to share this with you.